This video is the first in a series of 3 that's meant to give you a quick crash course review on operations with fractions. So we're going to start off by talking about what makes fractions equivalent. And I always like to have students visualize what a fraction actually represents, because when we're talking with fractions, we're talking about portions of a whole. And so I always use circles. Here I've cut up 2 circles. One is cut into 8 equal pieces, the other one is cut up into 16 equal pieces. And what I want everyone to see here is that I've actually shaded the same region of each circle, but for the one that's cut up into eighths, that represents 3/8 of the circle being shaded in. For the one that's cut up into 16ths, that represents 6/16 of the circle. But even though the circle's divided up into different increments, it's the same equivalent area of the circle that's been shaded in. And so you can see that I've shaded in those same pieces. In the one circle, it's 3 slices of the circle that are shaded, and the other one it's 6, but they account for equivalent areas. So for every 2 slices on the circle on the right, it's equivalent to 1 slice of the circle on the left. So these are equivalent fractions. And I could even divide these 16ths into smaller increments and get other equivalent fractions as well. 3/8 is the one that's in lowest terms. If I ever need to scale that up to be out of a different overall total, what I have to do is just multiply both the denominator and the numerator by the same value to get to that final result. So if I multiply top and bottom here by 2, I get 6 out of 16. And that's how I can change one fraction to an equivalent fraction. Now, just for some basic terminology here, a fraction where the numerator is less than the denominator is referred to as a proper fraction. For any fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, we would refer to that as an improper fraction. So at the top of your screen, you see 3/8, that one is proper. At the bottom of your screen, there's 16/5, which is improper because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. In the middle of those two, I have placed a mixed number. So mixed numbers are when you take an improper fraction and you actually express it as the number of whole pieces and the fractional remainder that's left over. So I can actually show you right now in the space provided how to take this improper fraction of 16/5 and turn it into a mixed number. First, I have to ask myself, how many times does 5 go into 16? And so if you were to do that division, 5 will go into 16 3 times before you run out of things to divide 5 into. So it goes in 3 times, and I ask myself how much is left over. So 5 times 3 is 15, so there's only 1/5 left over from that fraction. So 16/5 can be written as 3 wholes and 1/5, or just 3 and 1/5. To go from a mixed number back to an improper fraction, I just have to take the whole number portion, multiply it by my denominator, and add in the numerator. So the idea is that if there's 2 whole pieces, or 2 whole circles, if we want to visualize it that way, that would represent 10/5 in total. And then I have those remaining 3/5 that I have to add into the mix, so that's where I get my 13/5 from. And so being able to convert between a mixed number to an improper fraction or vice versa is going to be really important going forward as you work on some of these fractions problems. The next video is going to look at addition and subtraction with fractions, and then you're going to move on to multiplication and division.